So, version 3.8 will last for 8 full weeks. That is basically like 8 years considering the modern day short attention span. And yet, along with 8 years of waiting time, we're also greeted with at least some new story with a look back to beta coding. And also 3 phases of different batters. Gosh dang, that's a lot of batters. We got a new batter in the Dahlia and a bunch of reruns as well, including the Dahlia's best partners. And a very random Aglaea plus Sunday rerun. I wonder what happened to Boot Hill and Rappa. That would have just made a whole lot more sense. But hey, I'm just a casual player, so let's break down all of them and hopefully it'll help you in deciding who to pull for or to save for. And hey, listen, Honkai Sharo can get rough sometimes, especially when a new character comes along and you're looking at 0 pulling resources in your account. As the good housewife on the lookout for great deals, I'd like to introduce today's sponsor, Aniba. Aniba offers the best top-up services and it's worth every bang for your buck. The best part is Aniba complies with all of Hoyoverse's guidelines with top-up services, so it's certainly trustworthy, and as usual, I myself has used it, had 0 issues with it. You can top up for yourself or for your friends because all you need to do is click the first link in the description, choose the item that you would like to top up, enter your server and then your UID, complete the payment, and voila, you see your resources in a designated account. No login needed. What's interesting is that there's a 10% cashback on what you're purchasing, or you can claim by going into your orders after purchasing, click on claim, and you'll see the cashback in your Aniba wallet. This cashback can be used for any other purchases in the Aniba website and can top up for Spiral even more. Or heck, pick up a gift or 2. It's simple, it's a good deal, and most importantly, it's trustworthy. Check Aniba out and you'll support me as a creator too if you do give it a go. As usual though, no pressure at all. And with that said, let's get back into the video. Let's just start by looking at the Dahlia. And before we even dive right in, here are 3 points of views you can probably have. You can either A, pull or not pull the Dahlia based on if you like her or if you want to use her team or not. B, pull for Cyrene knowing that you're skipping all of the coming batters until version 4. Or C, skip absolutely everyone including the current Cyrene to prepare for version 4 and just say screw everything, you want the most meta stuff. And here's the deal. There are no wrong answers by picking any of the mentioned, but well, feel free to discuss on what your personal decision would be though. I think I'll be sticking to option C and maybe, just maybe consider option A. With that out the way, let's start by understanding more about the Dahlia first. She is the new and upcoming 5-star fire Nihility character, and in summary, she is the strongest super break support in the game. To take a look at her kit, the livestream wasted no time and straight up told us her main gimmick. With her skill, you can activate a zone, and within the zone, allies can deal super break damage even before breaking the enemies. You see, the biggest issue with previous super break teams are that you have to weakness break enemies or else you pretty much do 0 damage. Compared to strongest teams like Castros or anything else, they simply do damage with near no limitations. The Dahlia here allows super break teams to match that pacing, where you no longer have to break the enemies first before you even deal damage, you just deal super break damage regardless of the time or the status. This is a big reason why the Dahlia is really good for super break teams. Next off, her talent here assigns a character as a dance partner at the start of battle. The dance partner will have a unique icon on top of their head. Either dance partner will trigger additional super break damage based on the toughness reduction from their attacks, and on top of that, when the Dahlia's other partner launches an attack, the Dahlia herself will deal a follow-up attack too. This will help out with breaking enemies and just deal more damage in general. The Dahlia's trace also allows allies to gain increased speed if they apply a weakness. On top of that, if a fire character specifically triggers this effect, they will gain some energy. All of this pretty much is just a hyper-focused design to help Firefly. They even limited the element to just say it's only fire, man. It solves Firefly's energy issue that can further stunt her performance, and it gives her more speed as well, which the more she has, the better it is. Next off is the Dahlia's ultimate. This ultimate applies every dance partner's type weakness on all enemies and lowers their defense. We can also kind of see her damage output here, where it's really not too crazy, which shows that she's more of a good support than anything else. Given this ultimate, it also means the Dahlia is not only good with Firefly, she can still be very great with anyone else that can utilize super break, namely Rappa or Boot Hill. You can even try funnier ideas like a break effect on Aglaea, considering he does apply a lot of weakness, so you'll gain a lot of benefits from the Dahlia. Since you'll plant any of your partner's weakness, it solves a lot of element issues with super break teams, where sometimes you don't have the right element against certain enemies and you're just stuck there with no damage output with like a Boot Hill. That would most certainly suck. The Dahlia certainly helps up with that. Finally is her technique, where she'll start the battle by applying her skill's zone and deal 1 instance of super break damage too. A very standard standard setup technique that's quite commonplace. And that is pretty much it for the Dahlia's kit. To conclude on the Dahlia's role, she's pretty simple, a super break support and the best one at that. She'll be replacing any support on a super break team, with the ideal team being Firefly, the Dahlia, Fugue, and Lingsha. You'll be able to challenge high skill ceiling teams by going for say Ron Mei instead of Lingsha, or just a separate break DPS instead of the healer. Now that the Dahlia allows break teams to be able to consistently deal super break damage no matter if you broke the enemy or not, a no healer super break team is now a possible team to use where you can kill the enemies before they kill you. But still, very high risk, and most of us won't be trying too hard to make that happen. Her alternative teams are going to be obvious. You can swap Firefly for any of the other break DPS like Rappa or Boot Hill, and you can certainly use Ron Mei or Harmony Trailblazer instead of Fugue, depending on who you have in your account. Based on my own research on the internet, you can expect very significant increase in performance for all of these super break teams, no matter how you pair them if you compare it to, well, not having the Dahlia from before. She does bring a very big impact for all of these characters just by allowing them to deal super break damage without weakness breaking. However though, you still won't be overtaking most of the top tier teams like Castrus, right? But that said, should you pull the Dahlia? The obvious answer, pull for who you love. The meta answer would be no. The future answer is maybe. Well, the general answer will be if you love super break teams and would love to make them much more viable, the Dahlia is pretty much a must for that to happen. And don't be mistaken, her value to a super break team is absolutely top notch, even without Eidolon investments. So if you're one for the super break team, you want the Dahlia in your account. As for meta chasers only, it's not really a needed character, obviously. The simple reason would be that version 4 is around the corner. There will be new focus archetype that most likely will spell the new meta, so if the best is all you want to go for, you want to save up. And finally, just to add to your worries, you can actually also choose to just pull for Cyrene, or pull more of Cyrene's to get her E2 and really make the current strongest HP change team even better. That would guarantee that you will be able to use that team even in the coming version for at least an extended period of time. At least that has been the pattern with Honkai Star, where new and recent teams would dominate the meta, but the last version's team will still somewhat hold their own. However though, the version before that just doesn't really work that well. Think of IL Dan Heng, right? All in all, I think it's quite hard to mess up considering the 8-week waiting time. You have extra time to save up for whatever that comes, as long as you're not deciding to go for multiple banners at once. Just ask what you truly want and commit to it, and have fun with the game. Finally, let's actually talk about future potential as well. Unlike the Chrysos Air situation, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of HoYoverse releasing more super break related characters in the future. But well, ever since Fugue got released, we had a fat 0 super break characters after that, I'm pretty sure. So this is really just a stretch. You could say pulling the Dahlia right now may be beneficial when HoYo release another super break god in the future, but I'll also say you could just grab her when that happens, since they'll definitely make a rerun for the Dahlia if that's the case. And you can even argue that there might not just be any other super break characters anymore. All of it is possible, and yeah, it's just a thought that I think you could ponder on. Nothing too reliable. Moving on though, let's talk about the reruns. In phase 1, along with the Dahlia, we see the most obvious Firefly rerun. This one's pretty much the exact same as the Dahlia. Firefly is one of the strongest, if not the strongest super break DPS. She can deal with AoE scenarios, single target as well, and she's like a midpoint between Rappa and Boot Hill, right? So definitely the most versatile among the three. However, Firefly herself comes with a lot of issues, especially with how she has to have enough energy to get her ult again, or you will be stuck with 0 damage output until she gets it. While there are ways to solve that even right now, the Dahlia definitely solves it, and on top of that, gets rid of her other limitations of having to break enemies to deal damage. So if you really want to use a super break team that works in most places, at least right now, Firefly and the Dahlia will both be on your priority list. You can't miss either one of them. Similarly though, pure meta chasers won't really be prioritizing both these characters in light of version 4, and casual fans can do whatever your heart tells you. In terms of Eidolons, Firefly's E1 actually solves her skill point issue, making it a much more pleasant experience to play, while E2 boosts her overall damage output quite highly, especially when you can break enemies' toughness, which you absolutely should be able to. It doesn't make her more broken than the top tier characters right now, but it makes your experience much better. I do recommend only going for it if you really love the team though and you want to use it. Otherwise, version 4 it is. Now then, in phase 2, we see Fugue's rerun alongside Lingsha. I think you see the pattern here, right? The Dahlia's whole best team is literally right there. Firefly, Fugue, Lingsha, and herself. I think this is a pretty direct message from HoYo to super break fans that you can get the best super break team right now with these 4 banners if you want to. To start with Fugue, her highest value comes from her talent that allows you to essentially have 2 weakness bars on enemies, meaning you can weakness break them twice, and that will count as incredible damage for most super break DPS. It is when you do break the enemies, right? That's usually where you have a burst of damage. Not only that, she also triggers super break damage if any of your allies attack weakness broken enemies. All in in all, her value in a weakness break team is incredibly high, hence why she would be paired perfectly with the Dahlia in the strongest super break setup. The big difference between these types of characters and say Ranmei is the difference in how versatile they are. Ranmei is honestly more generally useful, and you can use her in just about any other team, or if you want, she is also used in a weakness break team too. However, she falls short in value in a weakness break team compared to the hyper specific super break characters, assuming similar investments. The contrary is also true though. You can't just stick to the free Ranmei instead of pulling a Fugue, and you will still be able to access a very strong super break team, replacing Fugue with Ranmei. Overall, it's the same idea really across all these characters. Pull if you really want to use the best super break team there is, or if you really love the characters. Otherwise, most will choose either investing in the current Cyrene or we go version 4. Either way, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. The next rerun banner will be Lingsha, and it's honestly the same deal too, but I will add Lingsha as just a normal healer is still very solid, but definitely not the highest of top tier, since that is dominated by Hyacinth. For players that are missing heals, Lingsha can be your healer for any team in general, but you won't be utilizing the weakness break related part of her kit that much in other teams. However, she is the best super break healer, number 1, and number 2, it may still be wise to just wait for version 4 sustain. That will probably be stronger. Finally, let's talk about phase 3, where Hoyoverse threw a boomerang of a curveball because you would think everything is set up perfectly for them to put in the other 2 super break related characters, considering they've already included the whole super break roster in the previous reruns, right? But nope, we see the most random Aglaea and Sunday for a rerun in phase 3. What the crud? But well, guess we'll talk about these 2 then. At this point, you probably already decided if you went for the Dahlia and the super break gang, or maybe you went for Cyrene, or perhaps you skipped all of them. Regardless, then let's talk about Aglaea. Long story short, she is strong, not stronger than the best teams in the game. Do note, however, though, Aglaea is quite punishing, where if you do run out of her ultimate form due to a lack of energy, you will lose a lot of overall damage output since she needs to rack out damage and stats by attacking herself or with her Memo Sprite. You will lose all of those bonuses if you run out of your ultimate form, but that's usually counteracted by having Sunday that regenerates a lot of energy and provides very valuable extra turns for Aglaea to get more energy. No wonder they're both being run at the same time in this rerun, right? Even then, just by running Sunday Aglaea, you may still run out of your alt form with Aglaea, which is where most people will either have Cyrene to help out that helps regen energy for Aglaea, or getting Aglaea's E1, or simply having a Ho-Ho on the team. If you can keep her in her alt form, speed tune her with Sunday well, she will perform just a tier below the top meta teams in most modes, except Pure Fiction. She isn't too great with multiple AoE scenarios. For meta players, no reason to grab her with version 4 coming. For casual fans, Aglaea is an awesome character and honestly very fun and addicting to use, but you have to make sure she doesn't fall out of her ult, be it by getting her Eidolon or getting the correct allies. As for Sunday, not only he has a really good case with Aglaea, he also has a really high use case for Finan teams. Finan being an actual top tier meta team means that Sunday's value is actually still quite high even right now. Not only that, he is still very much used in multiple different teams with even multiple other Chrysos heirs like Anaxa and Aglaea. He's also a staple with Saber's team and can generally be used in anywhere, any team. I actually recommend going for Sunday if he can help you complete a team per se, and if you have enough resources for version 4 already. Now, they'll likely only be the case if you're skipping a lot of the banners beforehand though. However, in the end, the same argument would stand. You could just save for version 4 entirely. Maybe a better Sunday is just around the corner, and that will be all. Honestly, outside of the obvious pull for who you love to play with, the fact that version 4 is coming in 2 months is a very big question mark for us all. We have no clue yet on what's gonna happen considering the political issues that I'm too dumb to understand, and assuming nothing bad happens, well, chances are the better characters will be released in version 4, so you always have the thought of, why don't we just save for version 4 then? And that will probably be the case for a lot of future versions too, which is kind of a shame. But you know what, man? A gamer like myself will pull only for characters I want to play with. Let me know what you think in the comments down below though. I love to know. That is all. Take care.